The Donovan Mitchell rumors never end, do they, for your Miami Heat? It's another day. Another report linking Donovan Mitchell to your Miami Heat. This one's coming from Jeff Zillgitt of USA Today, but he reported that the Heat have their eyes on Donovan Mitchell. Not a surprise here, and we'll break it down more in depth in just a bit. But I want to make sure you guys are subscribed because we are going to cover the Miami Heat better than anyone else when it comes to the NBA trade deadline, which is just about 5 weeks away. Damn near 4 weeks. It's actually February 8th this year. It's January 4th, so we're right there. Make sure you hit that sub button. Stay locked in for everything surrounding your Miami Heat this trade deadline. All right, the actual report is coming in from Zillgitt, as I mentioned, of USA Today Sports. And what did he exactly say? He said the Heat have been looking for a combo guard and have long had their eyes on Donovan Mitchell. Well, no shit they've had their eyes on Donovan Mitchell. They were one of the teams that had a lot of interest 2 years ago before he was dealt to the Cleveland Cavaliers the first time. You know, if you remember going back to that time, a little time machine action, go back 2 years, it was the Knicks and the Heat who was always in the news. Also, what was happening during that time was Kevin Durant trade rumors. Now, I don't know what exactly happened that offseason, if Pat Riley and Heat organization prioritized pursuing a Kevin Durant trade, or if it was them just kind of in the middle of both sides. But I feel like they could have acquired Donovan Mitchell if he was the only star out that offseason, right? Like, I think they had their eyes on KD. Evidently, that didn't happen, and he returned to Brooklyn at the time. And then we know that Donovan Mitchell is now in Cleveland. But why is Mitchell up in trade rumors again? Well, short answer is that he doesn't want to stay in Cleveland long term. It's been pretty well documented throughout the NBA that he is not going to sign a long-term extension to play with the Cavs after his current contract, which still has another year left, which a lot of people, I think, don't actually know that, and they think he's going to be a free agent next season. That is not the case. He is under contract one more year and then has a player option the year after that. But based off his current salary he's making, which is just about $33, well, Donovan Mitchell's worth more than $33 million. So even if he did want to stay with the Cavs, he would be opting out of that player option so he can cash in on a longer deal. So he does have 1 year left on his contract, which is why trading for Donovan Mitchell this year seems a little less likely. You know what I mean? Like, I did come out and say if the Cavs stunk it up, because Darius Garland got hurt and Evan Mobley has been hurt as well. If they ended up being like 5-6 games below 500, could the Cavs just trade Mitchell this season rather than waiting potentially in the offseason and just get those assets quicker than expected? I think it was possible. But here's the thing. The Cavs have actually still been playing good ball thanks to Donovan Mitchell, because he's been really good this season like he has been over the past 4 years. And he's been one of the most established scorers in the NBA. So obviously the Heat are going to have interest. The question is it going to be in the offseason, or is it going to be during this year at the deadline, which is just about 4 weeks away? The answer for me is it's going to have to wait till the offseason. As much as I love to add Donovan Mitchell to this roster, and you think he would help Jimmy and Bam really get to the finals once again and maybe get over the hump this time because of how elite Donovan Mitchell is of a scorer. He's a top 10 scorer in the NBA without a doubt. He can do it in the flow of the offense. He can do it in isolation settings. He can get to the rim. He can get to the mid-range. He can pull up from 30 feet. He can do it all. He really can. And a pick and roll between him and Bam Adebayo would just be spectacular to watch. They're really close friends. They train together in the offseason. It makes all the sense in the world to trade for Donovan Mitchell. The question is it going to actually happen this year? But let me know, do you guys want to trade for D. Mitch? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I feel like everyone should type those Ys because he's still young. He fits the timeline for Miami in the now and also the future alongside Adebayo. So let me know your thoughts down below. Obviously, I want him in Miami. We pretty well documented how I've wanted another scorer to be paired up with Jimmy and Bam, because as much as I love Tyler Hero, I don't know if he can be the consistent third option and sometimes be the number one option on the offense. I will say that I believe Hero is the best offensive player for the Heat right now. That's right now, not in the postseason. Obviously, when it comes to playoff time, Jimmy Butler is going to be your number one, and he's going to initiate all of the offense. Maybe that allows Tyler to be a little bit more efficient because he's been struggling with his shot as of late, having to be the conductor of this Heat offense. Him and Bam have actually kind of struggled in efficient terms, and that's kind of why they lost to the Jazz on Saturday and they lost to the Clippers on Monday. The efficiency from those two have been a little bit down over the past 2 weeks. Now, the Heat still hold a 20-14 record, which is solo for fourth in the East right now, which obviously is very ideal. And considering the Heat have only gotten 6 games played between Bam, Tyler, and Jimmy, I still like where this team is headed. But I do think there's going to have to be a decision made by the organization and front office, specifically Pat Riley, if the currently constructed Big Three can win a championship, or do they have to go make a big-time move in the form of Tyler Hero being potentially shipped out for Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland? More on this coming up in just a bit, but shout out to the #1 daily fantasy sports app in the market, and that is PrizePicks. You get a $100 first deposit match when you go to PrizePicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. Join me, rapper Meek Mill, comedian Andrew Schultz. All you got to do is play the projections, no sharks, no pros. Just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you could win up to 25 times your money if you happen to go 6 for 6. Yes, you heard that correctly. That link will be in the description and comments of today's video. One more time, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. All right, let's kind of shift a little bit here in the second half of this video. Obviously, we've talked in depth in the past and on this video right now about Donovan Mitchell potentially coming to Miami. Can't really say too much more about him. It would take a lot. And when you think of a trade package, a different discussion for a different day would have to be had if we're trading Jaime Jaquez Jr. alongside Hero in 3 to 4 first-round picks for Donovan Mitchell. That's a different day. But I do want to talk about overall what the Heat can do at the NBA trade deadline. Because as I mentioned, I don't know if a big splash like D-Mitch is out there, and I don't even know if Pat Riley would want to shake up the roster that much in the middle of a season where the Heat are actually playing pretty good. So I think the trades that you'll have to keep your eye on for Miami are the minimal marginal deals. And I'm not going to say it's going to go super small. I'm not going to say they're going to go mid. I don't know where Pat Riley's head is at, especially with how many injuries this Heat team has dealt with. One thing I can confidently say, and we've documented this a lot, is the need for another ball handler and the need for another big man. Now, I will say this. Kevin Love played pretty damn well against the Lakers last night. He played fantastic, and he's actually had a couple good games strung together here. 10 points, 14 rebounds for K-Love last night. And they've been starting to use actually a double big lineup, which I've liked Eric Spoelstra and wanted him to do often. They've really gone to just Bam or K-Love in the past, but over the past 2 weeks or so, we've seen both of them play together at times. And Nikola Jovic played fantastic last night against the Lakers, and that's allowed him to be a double big lineup, either paired up with Kevin Love or paired up with Bam. Having 2 6'10 plus guys has really benefited the Miami Heat lineup. But I still think a backup center could absolutely be needed, right? Daniel Gafford is someone who always comes to mind in Washington. If they were able to swing a Tyus Jones and Daniel Gafford trade to shore up the point guard position, add another ball handler, and then you get the backup center that can protect the paint, and a little nugget too on Daniel Gafford and Tyus Jones, they actually have a top 10 pick and roll offense this year. I'm not kidding you. When you look at points per possession in certain plays, the Tyus Jones, Daniel Gafford pick and roll ranks top 10 in the NBA. Number 1 is Giannis and Dame, no shocker there. Number 2, Jokic and Murray. So I think they came around 8th in that list. So that is a really good offensive set that you can run a lot out of, because They're able to hit the pick and roll, or Tyus Jones can analyze the defense and kick it out to a shooter. So I don't know what the trade package for the two of them would be, but adding those two to the bench of this Heat team would just be monumental, not only on defense, because Gafford averages 2+ blocks a night, but it also would help the offense continue to flow when Bam sits down, when Jimmy sits down, and when Tyler sits down. It is a move that would be very enticing to grab both of them from Washington and plant them in this Heat rotation. I've also seen a lot of people talk about a potential Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorain Finney-Smith trade coming to Miami. I saw someone tweet out that two of them coming to the 305 would be equivalent of Jay Crowder and Iguodala coming to Miami. I don't know if I'd be willing to go that far, but I will say Dorain Finney-Smith would be quite the fit in Miami. Slotted in that power forward position next to Jimmy and Bam. He can space, he can defend. That is a really good player. Not really sold on Spencer Dinwiddie. His numbers have declined this year. Every time the Heat and Nets have played, and I've watched Brooklyn, he has really struggled. I don't know if I'm sold on bringing Dinwiddie to Miami, but Dorain Finney-Smith is someone that I absolutely would be intrigued with if the Heat wanted to go more of that mid-level addition rather than the big splash move that would be a Donovan Mitchell or DeJounte Murray. I expect them to go more minimal and not really go big. Before we sign off on today's show, I do want to show some love to Jaime Jaquez Jr., by the way, because he, once again, won Eastern Conference Rookie of the Month. We've technically had 2 months. October/November were blended together, and then obviously December. He's 2 for 2 in the Eastern Conference. He's been no doubt the third best rookie, and if you take away Chet Holmgren, because he was technically drafted last year, he's been the second best player from the 2023 NBA draft class without a doubt. So spam those 11s down in the comment section. Jaquez has been sensational for Miami, and I really do think he has a possibility and the potential to be a part of the Heat's long-term plans. Obviously, if they wanted to go out and trade for a D-Mitch, Jaquez would probably be coveted by Cleveland. And it would have to be up to Pat Riley if they want to deal Jaquez or keep him as that fourth best player on this team next to a Jimmy, D-Mitch, and Bam Big Three. So either way, shout out to Jaquez. He was sensational last night, 16 points, outplayed LeBron. He had a steal, a block, just fantastic defense. Jaquez out of UCLA has been everything the Miami Heat could have possibly wanted. He has been the X factor this year. And before I sign off, he's the reason why this Heat team is going to be able to make another deep push inside the postseason, because he is an X factor defensively and offensively, and he's the reason why Miami is better as a full team than last year. And people always forget, too, Tyler Hero didn't play in the postseason, and they made the finals last season. This Heat team is currently better than the one last year, but they still need to make some upgrades like the ones we mentioned to potentially beat the Bucks or Celtics once again in the postseason. All right, that'll do it. I don't know if you heard that. Marshall Green down below saying Knicks. Well, F the Knicks. F Marsh in the comment section. But that'll do it on today's video. I'll see you tomorrow for a Heat versus Suns watch party. Make sure you tune in for that as the Heat look to close out their 5-game West Coast trip over the 500 mark with a win against Phoenix, 3-2. Jimmy isn't playing, unfortunately, but hopefully he's able to return soon. Peace out and go Heat.